What's going on, guys? Best Shaco career. This dude right here who was peaked at 1300 LP challenger this season versus NattyNatt. Bro, I actually feel like mid-beast doing this video. That's when you know you've just fucking lost it. Yeah, he versus NattyNatt in this game right here we're going to be watching. So in this game, if you're not aware of the Shaco invade, I'm not really going to point it out to you. Yeah, this is just a Shaco invade that is real, and I know that NattyNatt is aware of it. So maybe I'll do that actually. I'll try like talk you through the Shaq and what he's thinking, and then we'll go through NattyNatt as well, right? Which is kind of always the case. I'm never going to talk about Shaco and not talk about the enemy jungler, so NattyNatt will be getting considered the entire time here, right? So yeah, just a Shaco invade here. He starts Raptors after defending them with his team, so gets his team to defend them. I'm not going to talk about that too much, and decides to invade NattyNatt. NattyNatt does the right thing here. This is the best counter to this, unless you're going to like actually late invade the Shaq or kind of directly run over here at level 1. The other way is you ward this entrance here and you start at walls. The reason you start walls is because you're close to this side, and if the Shaq gets your red buff, that's what you don't really want, because if Shaco gets your red buff, then you're probably going to be without one in the early game until, like, you know, when it respawns at 6:45 or 7 minutes, around that it would be in this case. So that would really suck, right? Especially for a champion like Rengar. And any like jungler early game without red buff, you're really obviously like less potent. So NattyNatt starting at walls is definitely the correct move. So he puts a box down and he's going to ward this brush, which is smart because he wants to know like if NattyNatt's actually going to run in here, right? And if he does, he needs to quickly backstab him and get onto him, which is exactly what happens, of course, because NattyNatt is going to run through. Let me just turn the sound down so I can actually hear myself think, and we'll go from here. So NattyNatt's going to come through very shortly. And Shaco Q's back. Boxes are the perfect, like, kind of distance or area, whatever you want to call it. Lets NattyNatt run through. Backstabs him a few times with Halo Blades. Box gets set off, and yeah, this is just like an ideal early game, to be honest, for the Shaq. The only thing here is that Shaco is still 2 camps from level 3. Why is that? Because he's gone Raptors. So Raptors give you nowhere near enough experience for level 3. You need to be like here, right? So red buff is not going to give you the experience for level 3, nor will Krugs, so he's still 2 camps away from 3 here. Now, to be honest, if I was the Shaq in this situation, I'd probably do red, and then I'd pivot back to mine. The reason being is because Rengar is still healthy enough, even in this position, to go straight here like this, because I know that Rengar's only way back in this game right now is literally just to run over here like this to my Krugs or red buff. The Rengar is actually going to do, I think he does blue and Gromp, and then he runs at the Shaco's Krugs, which is not really surprising to me, because the enemy like mid laner can cover that, but that's what I would be doing if I was Shaco. I'd leave these Krugs. The issue with this as well, the reason I don't really like this in this particular game is because it just resets Krugs. So it's unlikely the Shaq is going to play for these in the future, because it's not like he has a big lead over Rengar here. He just has like a camp or two's lead. That's about it. So in my opinion, I would actually just leave the Krugs here and again, just secure these 2. That's it. These Krugs, if Shaco doesn't take them again, right, are going to give nice experience to the Rengar, who he wants to keep as behind as possible. So I don't really agree with this. But anyway, you can see how both junglers here are thinking about the other. And this is like the great thing about jungling, bro, in like League, and why Shaco, in my opinion, is like is one of the few true junglers left. Like this used to be way more commonplace back in the day, right, and in earlier seasons where people would actually try shit in jungle and try to mess with you. These days, like everyone just kind of AFK farms. Camps give you so much experience, which is just bullshit, right? Kills should give you way more experience because it would make the game more interesting. So Shaco does Krugs. What do you guys think he does after Krugs? Is he going to gank bot lane, or is he going to try to secure the jungle here? It's one of the most important things when you're playing jungle and you have a lead over your opponent. So I want you guys to think about this right here, yeah, which I've explained no doubt like countless times on the channel, but this right here, yeah? Think about those 2 champs. They're in a 1v1, yeah? Think about these 2 champs. Are they in a 1v1? Think about these guys. They're in a 2v2? You have direct opponents in the game, right? So if you think about a lane, if this Aurora is beating the Jax, she is going to keep beating the Jax. Why? Because they go back to the same position, right? Or that's how it should go. Obviously, like, matchups can change. But the point here is that Shaco has a lead over the Rengar. And you have to think about jungle just like laners think about laning. If anyone has a lead in a lane, I'm winning against you, let's say, then this Annie can't really do anything, right? What's the macro in terms of laning? They just go back to the same position. Wow, that's really difficult. And literally, like, fight against each other indefinitely. In terms of jungle, it's difficult, right? Because we could be so far away from each other. It's not like we're running back to the same position. But what you have to try to do is almost create a laning environment where if Rengar's going to do anything like this, you want to try and meet him. Because that would be like a lane, right? I've got a lead over you, Rengar. I've got red buff, you don't. So if I fight you, that's what I want. Just like a lane, right? I want to fight this guy and almost, people will call it matching. So where the enemy jungler is, you want to be near them or on the same side of them. So yes, if the Shaq was to gank bot lane here, I think it's a massive mistake. Even if he could. even if he could kill the Corki, I just think it's a big mistake because there's no point in getting a lead over this guy if you're just going to give it back to him, right? And lots of laners will do this where they'll ask for assistance, they'll ask for help and stuff like that. That's what just people don't understand about jungle, is that this shit is a carry role just as much as any lane, right? So laners, what do they have? Minions. What do junglers have? Camps. It's the same shit. Jungling is just a form of laning, it's just kind of disguised differently. Let's see what the Shac does. Q's over, doesn't even consider going bot, nor diving the Orianna, which is very hard, right? When Rengar could be nearby and she has flash and all that stuff. And yeah, they actually saw Rengar here, right? So the Shac's going to go in, and he's going to check his red buff, I think, or maybe he just like went straight here. And he sees that Rengar is on his Krugs. Now, queuing over here, I think I'm fine with, but if I was him, I'd probably like be pinging the Jax to be careful. So as soon as he runs up here, right, the Rengar can definitely dive. So if I was this Shaco, right, and he thinks that Rengar's on his Krugs, I would definitely go like this just based on Jax's HP and queue over here. That means that when you queue over on Shac from this position here, you're going to be able to stealth into this brush all the way. The Rengar won't see you. If you queue over here, you see like how short that queue is? But this one here is legit, right? So if I was the Shaco player, I'd go to the left here and then like this. Because there's no doubt Rengar's going to dive your top laner here, right? Now, if Jax was full HP, that's a different discussion. If Jax is full HP here, you would spam ping here, right? Like, ask for assistance. Let's go. Let's kill this guy who's invading my Krugs, and he should be kind of low. So, yeah. I think the Q is, like, kind of bad, what this Shaco player does. And unfortunately, red buff runs out. You'll also get this as well, that if he didn't do Rengar's Krugs and just did red buff, like, let's just say he did red buff or even his own Krugs, so I would probably do Krugs here. So if he goes Raptors, red, then back over here, I'd definitely do Krugs and not red, because Rengar might run in and try to do your red buff right. And because you're going to be tanking the camp, you don't want Rengar jumping on you, because you still might lose. So I would do Krugs if I was Shaco in this game, and then I'd come back to red. So yeah, he jumps in, and because he doesn't have red buff, the 1v1 is actually pretty even. Maybe even like Rengar favored there, because Shaco doesn't really have that great of a box set up already. And after this 1v1 dissipates, he queues back over to his red buff and ends up doing it. Does it smart as well. Does it like kind of in the brush. The reason you do it here is because see how it opens up this like vision for you. So if Rengar was to do any sort of shit like this, you would definitely see him, right? If you just do it in the camp itself, you're blindsiding yourself from every direction. And Rengar can just jump on you from that brush and you're going to be GG'd. And that's not what you want. Shaco does his Raptors again. And let's see what he does after this. There's no real point on, like, basing here. The reason why is because what are you going to do after basing? Probably just running to your own camps, right? But here, if I'm Shac, all I'm thinking about are Rengar's Raptors. But it's very difficult here to do that. Why? So Rengar's Raptors, he would have done them kind of early in this game. Maybe they're respawning like 10 seconds. Let me actually just speed this up. There you go. So they just spawned. The Shaco, it's very difficult to invade that. Why? I'm going to move my camera. The Annie has TP, absolutely, but by the time she TPs, which takes like 10 seconds at least, right, because she has to recall as well, so there's no world in which the Shaco can like kind of conclusively invade this with it being good. You can't say, oh, this is so obvious, I just run in here and take his Raptors. But that should be his first thought, and you can see him here. Very good ping. He's not actually invading that, but he's saying, look, Rengar could be here, just be careful. Another way to like ping this or to add on to that would be to press tab. So if you're actually in the game and you just click on Rengar, he'd probably be up here, right? You just click on Rengar and you're saying, listen guys, that's where Rengar probably is, just be careful. And he is. And NattyNatt, if we look at it from his perspective, he will have, or probably, oh, he might not have actually, but he should know that his Raptors are going to spawn at around 4:10 in this game because there was a little fight in this brush, right? So if the Shaco just did Raptors normally, they're probably going to spawn around 4 minutes, but it was a little delayed because of the fight. So this camp is probably going to respawn around 4:10, 4:15, and NattyNatt will know this. So his job here is really to be there at that time, and he could even base here because he's got nothing else to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if he recalls and runs straight to his Raptor camp to defend them. So let's see what he does. Does these, recalls as well. Yes, let's see what Shaco's doing. So let's go back to the Shac. Shaco, instead of doing any of his camps here, goes to Crab. Why does he go to Crab first? Because he doesn't want Rengar to have it. This is the best jungling playstyle. Are you guys ready? The enemy jungler is going to tell you what to do, bro, in terms of macro the entire game. The Rengar is telling Shaco, get off my Raptors, bro. I've got my mid laner here. Yours is And Shaco's like, no worries. I'll take the next best thing on the map. Think about this. Rengar's camps, we work our way back. Scuttle Crab. Then we work our way back to our own camps. Your camps here, on your side of the map, are like your family IRL, bro. They want you to go out into the world and succeed. Think about the old days, yeah? Like Napoleon, Bonaparte, and, you know, I don't know, great explorers in the past, yeah? Seize some territories, alright? Be a colonialist. Not like literally. But yeah, like your family wants you to like succeed, right? Like we'll be here waiting for you. Like you go out into the world, you succeed, bro. Like let's go. We'll still be here for you. Like those are your camps, man. So if the Shaco just farmed his camps here, what happens if Rengar leaks into river just to check the crab and takes that shit? Oh, Rengar gets 60 gold. They're still doing these camps, right? Both junglers are doing their camps at some point in this game. That means that the only difference you can make is through these camps, right? Especially on this kind of rotation of camps, because the Shaco can't invade Rengar's Raptors. So he's giving Rengar Raptors. He's giving Rengar Krugs. See what I mean, by the way? It's difficult for the Shaq to actually invade here after taking them the first time, which is why I didn't like him taking them. So because Rengar's getting all his camps just like the Shaq is here, the only difference that's going to be made is in terms of what's in the middle of the map. And that's crap. So if Shaco was to leave that there, bro, like, there's actual no diff being made and you're giving a weaker jungler, arguably, a free crab. So that's why we go out to in. Out to in. All the time. Unless it's too risky, of course. This play bot side here, again, because I don't have time as I have to think about this, but if I was the Shaq here, I would probably just farm blue and then think about recalling from a jungler's point of view, like in terms of just pure camps. So if I'm playing against Rengar here, all I'm thinking about is camps here. But if we recall what happened, like not so long ago, NattyNatt took Krugs, and then Shaco, after this like little skirmish or whatever, then decided to take red buff. And I think he took his Raptors before then, right? So at level 1, he took Raptors, and at level 4. So if we think about this, nothing really topside is spawning maybe soon, apart from Krugs. They might be in like 60 seconds or some shit. So because of that, Shaco's got plenty of time here to maybe do something bot lane, right? When I say plenty of time, I really mean like 30 seconds. Remember, the Rengar in this game is going to have Shaco's Krugs timers. So if NattyNatt was thinking, Shaco's bot side here, I can't do anything, right? If Shaco's smart here, he's going to cover whatever I might do, and we just lose 3v3 because the enemy bot lane has Prio, which just gives us strength. So the enemy bot lane is stronger, apparently, according to the minimap in Prio, and Shaco could be here as well. I never want to do something on this side of the map, so what am I going to do as Rengar? I'm just going to actually play for what I know is real, and what could be 100% in the future, right? So that's what you're thinking about is if you're Shaco here. Not Gromp, because you've done that in your head. Not blue, is this here. And you're just trying to get as much gold as possible before you have to do that. So yeah, I think that's the reason Shaco decides to go bot here. I think he will be thinking that Rengar is going to make a play, because Rengar has a flash W Rakan against kind of an immobile bot lane. They're not too bad, right? But he can definitely make a play here, this Rakan, and the lane is kind of on a knife edge, yeah? So the Shaco actually running down here, I don't really have an issue with it. I think I would do this as well. And you can see him pinging Rengar. So if you could look at the minimap, you see where Rengar is. You've got to be able to track him, right? As if you could. So when I do that, you should be able to tell that Rengar's either going to gank this lane, or after farming his Raptors and Krugs, he's going to be back top side of the map soon. It's one or the other, right? And as time progresses here, the Shaco should get some sort of like inkling that, hang on a second, Rengar's not doing anything here. Like, he's not here. Put a box down as well, might be smart. He's not here, so where on earth could this guy be? So even at this point, the Shaco should be thinking, Rengar's not here making a play. You can see how far back the Corki's playing. He must be up here. So now, what should Shaco be thinking about? His Krugs. The Rengar might get greedy in about 30-40 seconds and do something up here, especially because Shaco doesn't know if any of this is warded, right? He doesn't have a sweeper, nor a control wood. He has no idea if the enemy has vision here. So that's what I would be thinking if I'm Shaco. So I think this initial move is great. Maybe he could, you know, just walk in the brush. I'm not sure if face checking it is that great of an idea against a Conqueror Rengar in a brush. So if I were him, if I were to run in this brush, I'd probably go like this and then box from a little bit of a distance. So if we watch this again in terms of micro, I would wait. So I would sit here for literally 5 seconds until my box is about to come off cooldown. Run like this, boxes on 1 second, half a second. And as you turn this corner, Rengar might see you, right? So if he jumps on you, you can quickly box at your feet. If he doesn't, then you're still running in and putting a box down just to make sure if he's in here or not. I don't really like the idea of face checking a Rengar when he could have based already. So yeah, anyway, this is what happens. So Shaco decides to save for a little bit, and I think he eventually recalls. So you'll see here, and you might be like, I get questions about this all the time in like coaching sessions, and obviously check out the website if you want coaching. Get asked all the time, don't you want to reset your buffs? Isn't this important? What's the playstyle? What's the game plan? To play against Rengar. Is Shaco playing against Rengar here? Yes, because he's not covering bot. That's not like really a thing, right? He's running to where he thinks Rengar is. That's why he's doing this. And that's indicated by how he pinged the Rengar when he ran in here, right? From after doing his Gromp. Now what's he doing? He's recalling. Why not go back to blue? Because his Krugs are up and Rengar could be there. Rengar is telling him what to do the entire game. Just like Shaco is telling NattyNatt what to do the entire game. Shaco is telling NattyNatt here, bro, I can be here. In fact, I want you to gank. I'm going to counter gank this and you're going to die in FF. And NattyNatt saying, no worries, bro, I'm not too sure about that future. You have that bot side of the map. I'm going to go to my top camps. I don't think we win a 3v3 there. Both junglers are talking to the other. And that's why they are clicking where they are clicking on this thing here. So Shac does some stuff down here because he thought Bard with the portal was going to do something. And now this is where you can see how he's pinging. This is where he's got to be thinking, shit, I kind of just like stopped my recall. I also showed. So I've spent quite a lot of time down here, right? So now if I'm Shaco, I'm worried that Rengar is going to be here. So if I was Shac, pinging on the way is good, but I'd definitely be danger pinging this area because Rengar can be here, right? Also around here. Like danger pinging like crazy. These areas here, top side of mid, bottom side of top, which is always going to be the case, but yeah. And NattyNatt just did his walls and Gromp, ends up ganking top lane, has to use his empowered Q because it would have ran out his passive. Can't get the jump, unfortunately. Bard's here as well. Shaco decides to do Krugs during all of this. And yeah, so I think like this early game is just very interesting in terms of jungling, and I'd love to see more games like this where, you know, you're kind of forced to, in a way, jungle against the other person, but it rarely happens these days. So yeah, anyway, let's see what happens here. Okay, so Rengar jumps in. The Shaco's gonna... This is really, really smart, by the way. If you guys are wondering, like, if Rengar can see the Shaco here, he can't. Reason being is because there is a brush in the way, which looks obvious, right? But if you ever draw a line between Champion 1 and Champion 2, and there is anything in between that line, or along that line, you're not gonna have line of sight. So they won't be able to see each other, right? So if you look at Rengar's point of view here, then you look at Shaco's, it's weird, right, how it works. The only reason he can see him is because of the vision here, right? But yeah, anyway, hopefully that makes sense. So if they were standing here, they're going to see each other. So very, very smart from Shac, and I really like this Q as well, because there's such a good chance that Rengar is going to continue, because he's already saying, hey guys, I'm walking into this brush. That's what he's saying, right? So it's almost like you trust his movement in a way, and the Shac's going to do the same trick he did at level 2 at Raptors, where you Q in. I think he should box just a little bit earlier because Rengar might see this and then jump away. So I think his box should have been a little bit quicker there. But the trick is still nice. Maybe that's even important, actually, what I just said. Like, if he gets the box sphere here, Rengar might die, even though he probably has empowered a W, right? Which he would. But yeah, anyway, just a nice little trick. So let's continue with this. He's the Rengar. Of course, you either Rengar there because Aurora, you're never going to kill her in time. And I think this fight ends up kind of just chilling a little bit. I can't actually remember it exactly. And yeah, Shaco just goes back to Raptors because he doesn't think he can get any kills, and we'll go from here. So at this point in the game, right, we have to figure out again, like, what kind of our future is going to be based on who's the enemy junglers. So Rengar here, what do you guys think Rengar just did? So if you're playing as Shaco here, right, and that fight happens top lane, both junglers here, right, have clearly, you know, done something top in terms of camps. Because Shaco went from level 4 from being bot and jumping through the portal or whatever happened at level 4 here. He's got a level 5 when he showed, so he must have done Krugs. So both junglers here, and Rengar, he was level 5 with decent CS, so he must have done like walls and Gromp, and then he went here. So both junglers here should be able to anticipate that the other jungler is... God, I'm saying jungler so many times. They should be able to anticipate that the enemy jungler is here. Or what Shaco should be thinking about is Rengar's red buff. Because remember, he took this at level 2, so... if the enemy champions and then his own champions are telling, you know, the Shac, come in here and invade me, he would obviously do it, right? But it's very difficult to do this on this map. Why? Because his Jax is down here 1 HP. The Annie has just got back to lane with no pride. And also, Rengar could have maybe warded. He doesn't know where Rakan is. I guess Rakan was just top side of the map. But it's very difficult to just run in here, right? Which is 20 seconds away, probably. Maybe 15, actually. But it's so far away, so you can't, again, what we're trying to get to here is we're going from 0% players to 100%. We're trying to get to 100% knowledge. If you don't know, if you can't say, oh my god, it's so obvious. Like, how can this not be good? That's what you need to be saying when you're considering interacting with the enemy champions. If you're going to gank a lane, it has to be so obvious it's a kill. It can't be, oh yeah, maybe we win. Oh shit, I just died. That feels bad. FF, blame the support of whoever. It has to be 100%, yeah? If it is maybe, if, probably, still not good enough. It has to be, I know for a fact. When you go from I think to I know, that's when you're going to transform your jungling. So Shaco doesn't know here. Also, how he backstabs camps like kind of tilts me, but that was actually quite good. I think later in the game it might have happened, but anyway, I don't want to talk too much about Shaco micro. See these pings here? Wow, bro, why is he pinging like this? Oh yeah, Rengar, that's right. I forgot, bro. He thinks about Rengar the entire game. I didn't forget, I'm just trolling, but yeah. So he does his camps here, and then he decides to make some sort of play. Let's just go back a little bit here and think about if he could have made a play earlier. Because this is, the next wave, you see this, is a cannon wave. So maybe after he does walls and hits level 6, maybe he could run straight bot and gank this Corki. Maybe it's actually a play, because the Corki has to shove this wave, right? I think Shaco could get here in time and maybe kill this guy. But why does he not? Because he thinks that Rengar might be there. Now, Rengar, as far as Shaco goes, is kind of annoying. All the Shac has to do is basically just ult, and he should be okay. But if the Shaco extends trying to kill this Corki, he's probably going to die to Rengar, and that just doesn't sound great, right? Especially when Rengar could just, like, farm more camps than he is right here, and kill him, then come back to Krugs. You know what I mean? Like, dying to the enemy jungler just isn't that great. So we definitely could think about this. And let me put it this way, guys. If the Rengar was, you know, I don't know, definitely level 4 or 5, like, let's just say Rengar had 32 CS, which is miles away from level 6, I would definitely go bot here and kill this guy. But the reason he doesn't, the big reason, is Rengar potentially being here and doing something, because Rengar will also know that the other person in that lane was Jax, who is really low as well. So there's nothing stopping Rengar from stacking off red buff and just running here. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but if he is making that play, it makes it kind of difficult for Shaco to actually make it out of that alive, even if he kills the Corki, right? So yeah, he's going to do his camps just to make sure. And remember that he did ping the bot lane here. And you see Corki as well. He's pinging the Jax, and then someone else is pinging for assistance. So some of these lanes, guys, are going to be on a knife edge. But the Shac is not going to run down here without knowing about Rengar. And he also pings Rengar's flash. So again, he constantly updates not just himself, but his teammates on where Rengar is and what he has as well in terms of cooldowns. Ultimate, flashes, items as well, maybe. I think in one of my games today, I was versing a Viego as Malachi. I went for 116. Hopefully they banned Shaco in all my games. And the Viego had like longsword, recurve bow, something like this, and I had a Liandry's. I just forced to fight a dragon and we just hard win. Just because I'm playing against the enemy jungle and I see what they have, and I make a decision off of it. You don't make generic decisions. You press tab, you think about this guy, and that's when you make decisions. That's why, like, if you ever see me, like, coach anyone, I have to load up the game and go through the game as if I was playing. What about this? What about that? Did you think about this guy? Did you think about the Zed having W? What about the Vladimir having pull? This guy has no ultimate here. Why not just force a fight? These are the things that we need to see in order to be able to make good decisions. So yeah, Shaq's gonna go in, and unfortunately, you see how Rengar's ulted here. Now the Shaq, this is why as well, by the way, it's very difficult to kill this Corki unless he uses W to go on the Jax here. So what should happen here is that Jax needs to chill. So if I was this Shaco player here, I am pinging the Jax to relax. So I'm telling this guy, so I'm pressing V on my keyboard, not sure what it is for you guys, but I'm pressing V on my keyboard and telling this guy to chill. That means that if Jax stands back here, can you see how the Shac could Q like that straight over the wall and kill the Corki on his own? I don't need this guy to do anything here. So if you're playing Shaco or even like a Rengar champion, maybe not Rengar actually, but Kha'Zix, Talon, stuff like this. Imagine if you're Talon here, right? And you want to E like that, and the Jax just runs up and pushes Corki away. Terrible. You don't want your teammate to spook them before you actually deal your damage here. So make sure if you're playing a champion like that, you tell this guy to chill. So very, very important micro here that this guy just like doesn't communicate, and then he queues in, and it's like he wouldn't have got to Corki anyway. You know what I mean? Like the Corki could just chill here or even recall, and he's just wasted a Q over the wall, and he gets rightfully punished for this, I think anyway. So NattyNatt's going to jump on him, right? The good thing here from Shac is that he ults at like kind of the perfect time. So he ults as he gets jumped on, but you can tell that that's the real Shac just from the damage they're taking, and you can see that someone is pinging them here. But anyway, yeah, like that's just how the champ works. So yeah, what he probably should do here is try to run away because he can always box as well. So you could have like R'd and then box like this and then E'd NattyNatt and just ran off. But he tried to like greed for the Corki here. So I don't know if he was tilted, but he didn't ping the Jax at all. So I actually think this was like a really important micro error. That's something this guy should definitely like start doing if he wants to secure kills, because I do this shit all the time. If you know that you can kill someone on your own, why is your teammate running up and spooking them? Shaco is also very lucky that Rengar doesn't get a kill here. Because if Rengar gets a kill, bro, this game is going to be really, really difficult from this point for Shaco to unleash. But the funny thing in this game is that NattyNatt had like 4 assists and 0 kills, and Shaco just got like every kill, as we're about to find out. All right, so what should NattyNatt do here? Tell me quickly, go. You're playing as Rengar, right? Okay, so I've helped shove the wave out. We've killed the Shaco. Let's go. What do you want to do here in terms of jungling? So he's got 2 longswords. I'm not even going to show you his gold. Okay, so if you said recall and run to grubs, correct. Well done, let's go. So NattyNatt's going to recall and run to grubs, and what about Shac? What does he do? His top camps are probably going to respawn, right? Krugs and Raptors, because he farmed them so long ago. Can you remember when this fight was happening top at level 5, when he queued like this back into NattyNatt, W'd the brush? That was probably like 2 minutes ago. So camps, Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Gromp, respawn every 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Again, I don't have timers here, so it's almost like instinct in a way. But I'm guessing these 2 camps are going to spawn. So if he was to run a dragon, right? Oh, dragon's so useful here. Oh, why doesn't the Rengar do dragon? Like, the enemy jungler's dead, Shaco's dead. Because he's potentially losing something better and something even bigger than just grubs. So there is a big loss here for Rengar if he was to do dragon here. That's what you're always going to ask yourself. If I do X, am I losing 2X? So if Rengar does X, he could lose 3 times as much as what that is worth. You don't just say, oh, dragon's so good. Woo! Yeah, generic jungling, bro. Generic. Look at the game. Look at the minimap. Look at the other side of the map. What are you losing for it? Look at that loss. That's a big loss. So yeah, both junglers, we're anticipating, yeah, are going to run topside. So let's see what NattyNatt does. Recalls, runs topside. Then where Shaco goes. Runs out of base topside. Camp spawn as well, yes? Now, what can Shaco do here? Again, we're going to keep playing as Shaq. What can Shaco do here in terms of grubs? Well, he has to kind of consider the rest of the map here, right? Because in terms of 1v1, he does okay still. Also here, though, Rengar used ultimate, so did Shaco. So because both champions use their ultimate, now it's just QWE, okay? Again, I'm just adding details, all right? I'm just adding some logs onto the fire of information here that you got to think about. Rengar is probably more useful, especially around this area because of the brush, than Shaq is, right? For Shaq to get in here, even safely, he would probably have to queue over and he needs like 3 teammates near him. If he had his ultimate, let's just say Shaco had ultimate advantage here, what would you guys do actually? Interesting question. So I'm never just going to like look at the reality of a game. Let's actually think of a hypothetical. So let's just say that Shaco has his ultimate. What would you guys do if you were Shaq? In terms of jungle 1v1 here, if you are not thinking about forcing grubs, you are just trolling. You are just massively trolling. And again, I'm talking about jungling here in terms of me against Rengar. If Shaco has ultimate and he's not running straight to grubs and forcing that shit, he is trolling. That should be your first thought if Shaco has ultimate. Then you think, can I actually do that? Oh, Orianna's dead. Yes, your mid laner is going to base. Hopefully they base before Orianna, you know, death timer says 8 seconds, because then they're running out of base at the same time, right? Or Annie might even run out of base a little bit later there. But the point here is like Orianna is not going to be part of the Shaco starting grubs before Shaco finishes 2. And just remember as well, you only need 2 grubs now for them to count as an Atacard stack. You don't need all 3, which I think is a nice change, because who wants to like hit grubs for longer than they have to? No one. So you only need 2 of them here. So if this was the map and Shaco had his ultimate here and Rengar didn't, 100% you just run straight to grubs. But because Shaco doesn't have his ultimate here, all I'd probably do as the Shaq is not only just think of giving these up potentially, but also just going like Krugs, red, and then we'll go from there. Maybe Raptors respawn, I'm sure they would. And then probably we're going to think about doing something like this, yeah? That's the alternative. So if I'm going to give up grubs, I definitely, at the very least, want to be impacting the map, dragon, bot camps, diving them. Something like that, right? So if you're giving up grubs, that should be what you're thinking about in terms of countering them. Do you either directly counter them? And by the way, it's not just grubs specifically. Could be Rift Herald, could be Baron, could be Elder Dragon, could be Third Dragon, Soul Point. If you cannot contest something in the middle of the map, because remember, both junglers are getting their own camps here. Very, very likely, right? That both junglers are just farming their own sets of camps now. So how does one diff the other? Is by getting something in the middle of the map or beyond it. On the other side. So if the Rengar's going to get this thing right here, let's just say he can, and Rengar gets this thing right here, how does the Shaco beat that? Because then he's just behind grub. He needs to do at least that. Could be these, could be diving bot. Let's see what the Shaq does. Red buff here looks good. Then all of a sudden he sees Keen, Genji Keen, doing this. I'm not sure what he's doing, how he's made himself, you know, to be in this position, but credit to him. I respect it. But unfortunately, if you are Rengar here, you are super tilted. Because it just... The funny thing here... This happens a lot, by the way, so it's important not to tilt. But some people are just going to, like, kind of die in silly ways and give the enemy jungler free kills. It happens. And you and me, like, we're always going to get free kills, right, in our games. Like, it's just part of it. So NattyNatt here, I know for a fact, will be pretty tilted by this because they just killed Shaco bot lane. And this guy has just basically ran mid and just picked up a free kill. So now, funnily enough, the Shaq is ahead of Rengar. So if you're Shaco here, especially because Aurora is now dead, you should be thinking about potentially contesting grubs, right? The only issue there is what? Or who? Who is the only issue here? This person who doesn't have TP. So if Annie had TP, you run straight here and you can test that shit. If not, do them straight away. Rengar's ultimate is not shorter than Shaco's. Yes, okay, like if he's standing here, Rengar might be able to jump onto him. But if the Shaq has half a brain, right, he's going to do the grubs over here. So Rengar's got to run in, no flash, no ultimate. If he runs in and contests, he's just going to die to someone. But because Annie doesn't have TP, he still has to be a little bit careful. So let's see what he does here. So he's going to hit this thing just to make sure that, you know, if NattyNatt's actually doing them and he runs in, has to be a little bit careful again of the brush jumping onto him. Yes, he has a Bard next to him, but Bard doesn't have exhaust or heal or anything, right? So it is still a little bit risky just to invite Rengar to jump onto him. And yeah, I think patience here is good. So he wards, saves his box. If you were to box like this, not only do the grubs... I think the grubs actually just see it, even if you put it in fog. But yeah, it's just a waste of a box, right? You want your box to do the last 2 grubs there. So he runs over. Yanara's giving him prior from topside. Don't worry about 80 carries being top or anything like that. They're just champions, right? Wow, my top lane is giving me prior. Let's go. It doesn't matter if it's the 80 carry. And he's going to get the grubs here. Now, very important. Even at this stage, right, we know that Shaq has grubs. Agree? Do we all agree that Shaco has grubs? Let's go. So if Shaco has grubs here, what do you think Rengar's thinking about? You think about his future, and you try to beat it. So Rengar here is giving up grubs. He can't do this anymore. So I'm guessing Rengar is thinking about what? If he's giving up grubs, so remember, I know that Rengar got the first grub, but he's giving up the stack here, right? Because he's losing 2 of them. Rengar's probably thinking about this. So if you're Shaco here, you could do Krugs here, but if I'm Shaq, I can't remember this game exactly. The first like few levels I can, but from here, honestly, I'm just freeballing it. If I'm Shaco here, I'm probably just going to go like that into that. I don't think the Shaq has time to do Krugs here. And you might be like, oh yeah, but Eagz, you know, like your camps are so important. What are your camps again? Oh, your family, right? And what does your family want you to do? Succeed in the world, bro. Go out and conquer the world. What can we conquer bot side here that's pretty easy to take if we can get there first? Crab. So if I'm the Shaq here, I'm thinking about queuing over and doing Raptors, and then you run down here to this crab. That's what I would do if I were this guy. And he should also know that Rengar has these camps to farm, right? He should know that NattyNatt had blue buff just before, so he's probably going to farm his Gromp and Wolves after. His CS has gone up by like 4 or something, if that, from this bot fight that just happened where Shaco died. So the Shaq should know here that Rengar actually does have camps to farm. This said like 70. Oh shit, he's actually got like kind of more than me here. And I've already farmed my red buff. That means he's probably done at least one of these as well. Oh, so he's only got this one to do. And when NattyNatt runs down here, he's going to go straight to crab and get it. So if I'm Shaq here, I'm doing Raptors into that bot crab. Let's see what he does. Could have done that a little bit better in terms of backstabbing, but yeah. Yeah, straight to Raptors. So let's see if he goes to bot crab here. If he does Krugs, it's a massive mistake. Yeah, you see how he goes. So that's why Shaq skips his Krugs after getting that and runs here. Now, this is where the game becomes more micro. Okay, guys? So you've seen a lot of macro here, and this macro just continues. All we're trying to do is orientate our macro, our movement on the minimap, basically, thinking about the enemy jungler the entire time. Again, they're going to tell you where to go. So let's just watch this micro situation, because I think this is very important if you're playing Shaq. So the Shaq queues in, right? He's just queued. It is as fresh... Okay, it's kind of as fresh can be. But he's queued in, and the Annie has her stun. How can you tell Annie has stun? Because she has 4 stacks. Oh my god, let's go. So because the Annie is going to stun the Rengar here, I think this Shaco should do like kind of a specific combo on the Shaq. What I would do is run to about this position here, put a box down, and then I would ult like this, and I would do an ult combo. So you run in to about this position. Why? Because it's playing a Shaco. When you ult from here, and your cursor's over here, the real Shaq, so yourself, you'll appear here. So you can kind of like extend your stealth range, funnily enough, by pressing R when you're in it. So that's what I would do. Run in, box, R. Just like this. That's what my mouse will do. So Q, W, R like this. Bang, 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 bang. Machine gun him with Halo Blades. And that's that's just like a great chance of killing the Rengar, right? Yes, there is an Aurora right here, but you are not queuing in to not kill the Rengar. And Annie's going to stun him for you. It is the best chance you have at killing this guy by just using everything right now with the Annie stun. But what this Shaco does, boxes and misses his backstab, which is kind of criminal. And this guy's going to be on like 3 ping as well. No flame, but that shit, bro, there is no excuse, bro, for that. I'm sorry, Mr. Korean Shaco. Then he decides to ult. And yes, his clone will get like Halo Blades, which is nice, but yeah. The funny thing here, by the way, is that NattyNatt doesn't ult the right Shaco here. And I always thought this was a thing. Someone in the comments, please correct me if I'm wrong. I always thought that Rengar's ultimate showed the real Shaq, because every time I play against a Rengar and they press R, I just get AIDS because, you know, I always think they're going to see the real one like this, because that's the clone. This is the real Shaq here. But later in a game, I was proven wrong, because the clone actually had it on top of him, and I just couldn't work it out. So I don't know if it's RNG or there's something in the game that dictates that, but yeah. Anyway, we continue. So Shaco Q's over. Like I said, he should box and then R combo. Definitely. Like, Rengar's probably already dead, by the way. 100% actually. Already dead. So I would have killed him. Let's go. And then he ults. And you can see, like, just how important that micro is. And I guess, like, here, it looks like he gets chunked and loses a lot of HP. So it's quite difficult to discern, like, the real Shaq. The NattyNatt, but yeah, unfortunately, he just goes on the wrong one. See, it's kind of smart from Shaco. Like, the only thing the Shaq can do here, by the way, because he's already stuffed up. He's stuffed up twice. Like, 2 of his ultimates here have been mistakes. So the only way he can try to outplay them is if he pushes his ultimate off as if it were him. And NattyNatt, unfortunately, jumps on him. In my opinion, like, so far in this game, I don't actually think the Shaq has micro that great when he's actually interacting with the enemy champions, apart from this one here at level 2. I think that was perfect. I think the level 5 one could have been improved from an earlier box. I think the level 6 ultimate down here, he should have pinged his Jax off. I think this one here, he just missed a free one-shot on Rengar with the Annie stun or off the Annie stun. This here, he does as best as he can. And thankfully, they go on the clone. But you're giving the enemy team, like, you're relying on them there, right? It's just hope. I'm still cheering this guy on, by the way, because, you know, I hate every other champion in the game. I think Rengar's pretty broken as well. So if you ever see a Shaco who's the worst champ in League history, you know, I'm cheering them on. So even though I'm kind of, like, low-key flaming him, yeah, I'm still cheering him on. And this is probably like one of the moves of the game so far. So this Shaco runs off, right? And then he's going to look back and he sees that Jax is doing something. Rakan is clearing walls. And this Rakan is kind of low. So of course the Shaq can kill the Rakan, right? If he can get onto him. That's exactly what he does. This is just brilliant patience. Lots of... I even think I here would go over like this and just farm Wolves and Gromp probably into a recall. Maybe I look for the Crab afterwards. So Wolves, Gromp, Crab, because I know Rengar doesn't have ultimate and he's dead. So I'd go like Wolves, Gromp, into Crab, base... Krugs, Raptors, down to drag. Something like this, right? That's what my brain would be thinking about here. But this guy is thinking about the Rakan and potentially killing this guy because there's no guarantee Rakan is safe here. What about if he does that? What about if he just like runs back in the brush and it looks, oh, he might be recalling. So then you would queue from like here. So the Shaq here is brilliant in terms of playing against the enemy players. And you can see how he waits for Rakan here. Q's over, Rakan wards. The Q is literally perfect, like max range. Beautiful. This was play of the game so far for me. So really, really good from the Shaq. What does he do here? Crab. Why do we do Crab first, guys? Oh, aren't you meant to reset your camps? Oh my god, Krugs are up. Oh shit. Oh, Drag's up as well. Well, let's take one at a time. Can he do Dragon here? With no ult, half HP. Enemy vision everywhere. Orianna bot side? Of course not. The only thing he can do here that Rengar might want is Crab. So, Shaco runs to Crab. Aurora starts running down though, so he kind of respects it. See how he clicks off? Emotes as well. But then Aurora clicks mid. The enemy champions are going to tell you what to do, bro. Not just the enemy jungler here. And remember, later in the game, even at this stage of the game, everyone starts to jungle. People are in your jungle. People are in river. There are supports warding everywhere, right? People are now interested in jungle more than they perhaps should be. Or were at the start of the game, I should say. So the Shaco is listening to Aurora. And the Aurora now gives him permission to do the Crab. So he boxes, clears this. He should probably just E this at the start because he'll get it again at the end. So you could like box and then E this, slow it. And yeah, he'll have his E back up at the end of this. And yeah, what's he going to do after this? I think this guy's going to do Gromp and Wolves into a base. Again, I can't actually remember this game, but that's what I think he's going to do. And that's what I would do. So this is a great way for like not only me to learn, because I felt like after watching these games, for some reason, like my games felt incredibly easy. So the last like 2 days after watching this, I was like, holy shit, like what am I doing, bro? Like kind of like falling out of my head, man, like what I was doing before. And you can see that we're kind of like 1v9ing. Even if we are on ping or whatever, it's still like pretty easy just after watching this, because I felt as if I kind of got back in the swing of things in terms of like macro and actually, you know, playing the game properly. And also not tilting as much as perhaps I should. Because I watched this guy play Shaq. Again, no flame. And I thought to myself, bro, even on ping, I think I'm better than this guy at Shaco. Like just pure micro. So it kind of gave me confidence to go out there and play. But yeah, okay, so after Crab, Gromp and Wolves base. That's what I think. Why is he going to do Gromp and Wolves in base? Well, if he bases, right, he's running to Krugs. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Krugs, Raptors, then down to Dragon. The reason you can do Gromp and Wolves here is why? Why do you guys think? Why do I think as well that I would just do Gromp and Wolves? Because I don't think I'm losing anything. I don't think I'm losing Krugs here to Rengar. I think it's very difficult for the Rengar to run straight at my Krugs here. Why? Because I could not only be there, he doesn't exactly know what I'm going to do, right? The Rengar. So I could be there, and I'm arguably stronger at this stage. 3-1 beats 0-1. I know NattyNatt has assists, I'm not flaming. And that's why I said, right, I think the Shacket's a little bit lucky we're getting kills here, because if Rengar has 1 or 2 kills, game's a lot more difficult, I think, for him. But yeah, he's not losing Krugs, right? I don't think he's ever going to lose his top side here for doing his own Gromp and Wolves. And because he's so close to Gromp and Wolves, you can put them on a timer here, get the golden experience, and run to and recall and then run to Krugs. Yeah, so let's see what happens. Just look at the minimap. Gromp and Wolves. Rengar was just mid doing something. Don't know if Rengar uses ultimate, but yeah. And you can see the chat here, guys, how Shaco is literally pinging the Rengar the entire time. Look at this. So he's recalling. I think he pings Rengar's ultimate here as if Rengar used it, but Rengar didn't actually use it. So let me just make sure this is correct. And see how NattyNatt's pinging Shaco as well, by the way. Just want to go back here to this. I think NattyNatt should definitely do drag here because they just killed the Annie. And he still has ultimate if he really wanted to, like, you know, protect himself from Shaco. Everyone's still healthy down here. So if I were him, I would, maybe he's thinking about Jax being here in terms of, like, in a 4v4. Because, yes, they just killed the Annie, right? But they use Orianna ultimate. And in a 4v4, like, it would probably be winning for red team just because they have, like, ultimate advantage, maybe. Anyway, yeah. Hopefully you get my point there. But if I was, like, NattyNatt here, I'm definitely just going to do drag. And if you were Shaq, you got 2 options. You either contest the dragon, which I think is really risky, or you try to do anything up here, right? So we'll see what he actually does. But yeah, I think he can just definitely do drag there. I think it's even kind of difficult for Shaq to take both of these camps. He might take Gromp, but Gromp for drag is probably worth it. Gromp and walls, I don't think are worth it, funnily enough. And you might be like, oh, Eagz, you're crazy. Like, you know, it's 12 minutes into a game. Surely now we don't have to play like jungling properly. But a whole quadrant is like a whole quadrant in terms of, you know, the normal camps anyway. And yeah, when you play against good players, bro, you'll know that even just that means a lot. Let's actually see what he does. So he pings over here and he pings Shaco. So he's running top side. Then he presses R. That's crazy, bro. Maybe he thinks Shaco's on his top side. I'm not sure why he does this, because I guess, like, the Shac could think he's on drag, right? So again, that move I'm talking about, Shaco running in here. Maybe he was thinking about Shaco being on this, but it's impossible for Rengar to kill the Shac. Orianna doesn't have ultimate, and the Shaco can just press R. And it's even hard for Rengar to kill him, because he knows the Shac has items here, even without seeing him, right? He should know that he has more items than him anyway, because of the scoreboard, right? So I'm not really sure, like, what this was. And again, like, that's just me questioning it, but yeah. So if I were NattyNatt there, I would just do Dragon and then just basically beeline it to my top side, just try to, like, defend both of them. At least Wolves, I think he gets, but yeah. And while you're doing Dragon, if you're NattyNatt back here, so let me just go back. They kill the Annie. Basically for free. And at this point in the game, I would be thinking of just doing Dragon, just pinging this area here. Just be careful of Shaco, you know, Kane, even though you've given him, like, you know, a free kill this game. Please don't do it again. Thank you so much. Love you. And you can see him ping like this. So the ping is definitely good. I just think he should do Dragon. And this gets into, we get into here, mate, the Shac. The Korean Shac making another micro error. I want to teach you guys about the Shac, all right? Look at this. Says there's a ward here. If he runs through, he's going to get spotted, obviously. Now watch this Orianna. The Orianna wards. So the Orianna might be thinking here, I've got this warded now, which lots of people do. I've warded, now I'm safe. If I don't see the enemy jungler on this ward, they can't be here. That's what people think. It gives them like a false sense of security. And against Shaco, why is this a false sense of security? Is there anywhere else the Shac can attack the Orianna from? I mean, he could run all the way around like that, right? All the way around his red buff and attack her like this, but he also just Q like that. So the Orianna here should kind of respect it. Yeah, maybe she doesn't even think the Shaco can kill her here, but he can, but he doesn't. I know I've just gone like back and forth, but the reason he doesn't kill her here is because he doesn't W on the wave. Watch. Doesn't W on the wave. Just think about what I just said and just watch this. He starts the combo off with a backstab. Obviously, the most important thing is getting in your backstab, right? Otherwise, you're missing out on so much damage. And I miss all of mine because I'm on ping. Really annoys me. But it is the most important thing. What he should do here, instead of doing this, which looks really weird, right? And let me just explain why this is bad. You might think here, and by the way, I don't know if they knew Rengar used ultimate here. So I think the red team didn't see Rengar use his R. So NattyNatt ran through mid and then pressed ultimate, right? I don't think they saw him on the control ward here. So I think the red team still thinks Rengar has his ultimate. Shit. So that's why this would be important, yeah? The Shaco doesn't know that. So the Shaco is making these decisions. Please listen to this. The Shaco is making these decisions thinking that Rengar has ultimate. So can you try and link that and what he just did to this? He's giving up pressure in terms of jungle here. And against a champion like Rengar, it's just so nice to watch because you are going to get found out when you do shit like this and you don't execute it properly. He's losing HP for free here because the Orianna, does it really matter? She can just shove the wave and recall now. The Shac might want to stay on the map. He's literally just ran out of base and he's done this. He wants to stay on the map here. So wherever he goes, Rengar can be waiting for him. Rengar could kind of like stack, maybe even off of walls, and preemptively ult into his top side. That could be an option in another game. And all of a sudden, the Shac's in a bit of trouble. Even if he doesn't die, yes, he's going to be super low. He's going to have to recall, and now he loses a quadrant. Then his top laner might get dove in another game, etc. because his jungler isn't there, right? So there's lots of things that can happen after this. So a decision like this to gank this mid laner, lots of people would think, wow, that's really bad ganking mid like that. No, it's not. He actually executes it wrong. What I would do, for me, press Ghostblade obviously right now. I'd Ghostblade and I'd box about here. Why here? Maybe a little bit lower actually. Let me move the scoreboard so I can actually like play the game. So I'd queue in and I'd box about here. Why? Because this Orianna is kind of below the minion wave, if you will. So you want your box to almost be in line with her. And also the tower range is extended on that side, right? Well, that's how it looks anyway. So if I'm the Shac here, I'm running in, and as soon as I'm about to backstab her in a position 2, just like the Rengar in that position at level 7, level 8, I'm putting a box down here and leading into a backstab. He could as well use his ultimate because I'm pretty sure he would have time with his stealth. One very important thing, guys, when you queue in, you want to make sure you are backstabbing while in your stealth. So yes, I know you come out of your stealth to backstab. You want to be backstabbing when this is still ticking on your HUD. So he's got 2.5 seconds here, basically, to get in an empowered backstab. But he doesn't box the wave. So boxing the wave here, right? If you were to put a box down here, just imagine this for me. Shaco's box radius, let's just say it's like... it's not the best circle, is it? Sorry about that. But yes, anything in this circle is going to trigger the box. The fear range is actually bigger than the trigger radius. So anything inside of this circle is going to trigger the box to activate. And as soon as the box activates, it actually fears enemies or targets, whatever you want to call it, minions, champs, jungle camps, that are actually a little bit further away. It's really weird how it works. So if Orianna, you can see what I mean, was to run like this after getting backstabbed, the fear of that minion right there is still going to hit the Ori over here, even though the circle doesn't suggest so. It's one of the most important micro tricks, but for whatever reason, this guy just doesn't do it here. And it's essential because otherwise you lose 300-400 HP for no reason here, and now Rengar has all sorts of pressure on you. The Shac runs off. Here he has to be very careful as well, right, about doing his camps because of Rengar. I know he has his ultimate, so he's still kind of chilling, but he still has to be careful. And here, by the way, I would actually E this from kind of up here. So I'd try to get vision from the brush. Why? Because we know it's warded. So I kind of want to do these off vision. I don't want to be showing explicitly on the enemy's minimap. Even though they will know Shaco's here in 10 seconds or has been here. Why? Because the camp will disappear from the blue team's minimap. Oh, so even though they didn't see the Shac, someone's obviously cleared the camp. It has to be him. So Shaco's near here, guys. But yeah, I would just do the camp without actually showing my portrait on the minimap. That's what you're doing here. So run in the brush, E, box like this, let the camp run up, fear it into the brush. Unfortunately, this guy, I think, actually does a little error here as well in terms of clearing the camp. He boxes so the big raptor gets feared back away. So yes, he can get in 2 backstabs here, but he would have been able to do that anyway with the other fear because the raptor would turn around and hit it like this. So yeah, he had to like walk out on vision there a little bit, but yeah. We know that Rengar is probably top side here, right? Because he hasn't done dragon yet. So if this Rengar hasn't done drag here yet, he's probably transitioned to top side. And the only lane he can really, I mean, I guess he could actually go and dive bot lane, but look at the wards. Very hard, right, for Rengar to run through there. Even though he has his ultimate and these normal wards won't see him, it's still difficult to ult from these ranges without being spotted because the red team does have insane wards. So the only lane that's in jeopardy here, I would actually say, is top lane. So if I was playing a Shac here, I'd be kind of on the way pinging to top and just clicking here like this, just making sure. As soon as he gets a kill, I would actually keep running here because the Rengar might ult. Again, I don't know if they knew that Rengar used his ultimate, but no one pinged it. Especially the Shac, right? I don't think so. Please correct me if I'm trolling with that. But I don't think anyone pinged Rengar's ultimate, so Shaco must think he still has it. So if I was playing a Shac here, I would actually run like this towards Shac. This guy has just 1v1'd Aurora, and at this stage of a game, that kind of like tells you how the lane's gonna go. This guy just killed her. That's kind of unreal. This guy might be able to carry, and he actually does in this game. So if I was Shaco, I wouldn't actually do Krugs. I'd just run here like this. Very similar to what he did at level 4, actually. Remember when he did Wolves Gromp? Blue was sitting here. Oh my god, why not do blue? He actually ran to bot to almost cover his bot lane. Again, that's not really why he does it. He does it because he thinks Rengar is there. But here, for whatever reason, he doesn't think Rengar is here. But I would actually just run in and maybe sit here. You could run in and box here if you wanted to, and then just go back to your Krugs, right? Knowing that Jax is hopefully safe. But the issue with Rengar, which is kind of annoying about that champ, is that he could ult after doing Gromp through the lane. He could ult like this, and you still wouldn't see him until you saw the fear on Jax, and by that point it might be too late, right? But hopefully Jax will have his E, and that's when you might be able to turn the fight around. So to be honest, if I was Shac, I would just wait for Jax to clear this wave, maybe even the next, and then go back to Krugs. Just like a little thing there that I'd probably do different. Again, this is just like my opinion on the game, but yeah. And we see that after Shaco does Krugs, he decides to ping on the way to bot, and Rengar is on his red buff because the red team has vision there, which is nice. And yeah, here we go. So Shac's going to hit this over. Why does he not run a drag straight away? The funny thing here is that they, again, don't know Rengar uses ultimate. Yeah, somewhat interesting about this game, but I think Shaco makes a mistake here. I remember this actually from watching this the first time. Whenever you're watching a replay, it's very easy just to watch this person. Oh, wow, and he just passed bot. Yeah, okay, and he just does blue. It's rubbish, right? In the game itself, you're going to be like this. So you're going to be clicking down here on the minimap, looking at drag, and then you're going to look at bot lane, right? Because who doesn't like click down here? Your walls aren't there, your Gromp isn't there, and even if they were, you're still clicking sticking to walls, let's say, and then you've got time to just quickly move your mouse here. Oh, look at Corki and Rakan. What are these guys going to do? Tell me. What are they doing in the next 30 seconds? Or 10 seconds? They're basing. So if they're basing, how long does a base take? 8 seconds. And how long does it take to get back to the middle of the map? About 20? All right, so for 30 seconds, at least, starting from now, these guys are not going to be here. So if they're not going to be here, and my... Okay, Bard's not really here, but Yanara's winning the race out of base. My Annie is here, and in a position to play and fight with me, especially when her ultimate is up soon. He'll know this because above the minimap, you'll have your teammates and you'll have the green timer or the countdown, whatever it is. And yeah, the Shaco should know here that he's potentially in a 3v2. So if I were him, I would just run straight to drag, E it out like this and do it. And he can put boxes around. Never ever box the dragon, by the way. Yes, I know that he wants to do it kind of quick, but if I were him, if Rengar ults in, unreal. Because if he gets feared or something, they just kill him. So if I was the Shack, I'd run down, E it out, box around these areas as much as you can, and go from there, yes? Save your ultimate, though. But that's what I would be doing here, is actually playing for the drag, and I want the Rengar to contest me because he doesn't have Corki. I have Yanara, and that's winning. So instead of doing blue here, I think the Shack should definitely have done drag, and yeah. And now they see Rengar down here, right? So what can Rengar do? You press tab, you look at the scoreboard. Rengar's got the same CS as Shaco. So funnily enough, in this game, both junglers, or the Shack anyway, what I would be thinking is, Rengar, for him to be here, he's probably full cleared. I don't think Rengar has any camps up, right? Because why would he show in that brush first, you know, before doing his camp? So I think he's done something like this, and there he is. That's been his next move. I also don't know if I like NattyNatt running in this brush, because it kind of gives him away. It's a very popular warded spot, right? So I think NattyNatt should have done that and just sat down here, which I think is now what he does, right? And that's the only move he can make here. Like, literally. I mean, I guess he could recall and run straight to top, but that is kind of the only move bot side of the map, and maybe logical move down here that he can make. But yeah, I think Shaco just misses out on doing drag there. So yeah. And you can see how Shaco is thinking about Rengar. So when we see Rengar here, guys, and we might see him a little bit down here, I can't remember, the Shack is thinking that Rengar could have moved up like that, right? You see that? So yes, this ward gives him a little bit of vision of the river, but that bit's still in fog. And if Rengar was clicking up here, you know, anywhere along these lines, the champion is not going to go like that. It's going to go close to the wall. So he could evade vision here, and that's why the Shack is a little bit scared to go in, right? Which is why, that's warded, by the way, for blue team. Yeah, so if you ever see this icon, it just means blue team has vision. So that's why he doesn't go near this brush as well. Why? Because the Rengar is telling him. Again, that's how you play the game in terms of micro and macro. Rengar is telling this Shaco player, hey bro, I might be in this brush, so probably don't run near it. Even if you run here, I might be able to see you. Haha, unlucky. Use your ultimate. Thanks. Now I'm just going to run off. Thanks for giving me your ultimate for free. And Shaco's going to be like, you mother... and FF. Mentally, which is GG. That's what Shaco's doing here, right? He's thinking about Rengar the entire time. That's why he queues over. It's a little bit scared, to be honest. He doesn't need to. But yeah, anyway. Puts a box down, and then we see Rengar bot. And there's Rengar laning. This is a little bit weird, honestly, from NattyNatt doing this, because he's just showing, like, on vision. But, yeah, anyway. And Shaq still doesn't decide to do Dragon, or does he? Again here, like, he saw Rengar lose a bit of HP. And they still don't know about Rengar's ult. Like, he's pinging this here, but he pinged this earlier because he thought Rengar had it still. So I think the Shack is pinging this just to say, hey guys, like, Rengar still has his ultimate. Let's be a little bit careful, right? But I think starting the Dragon now is actually pretty risky. And honestly, like, if I was Shack, I would just go back to Gromp. Yes, I know he has Annie here. I'm not sure if anyone pinged Orianna ultimate. Oh, there you go, see? So can you see, like, it's very difficult in a replay to get into it. You guys are probably like, oh, Eagz is just like full fucking hindsight. Bro, go and watch my games. Go and watch the games, mate. If I'm in this game, I'm going to know. So if that Annie, just like I said, right? The Corki is in a base, on a base, sorry. So they could have had drag by now. So in this game, I'm trying to go through all the details that enable me to make a good decision. So Orianna, does she have ultimate? I even asked it. Like, maybe someone else used ultimate. Orianna has used hers because Annie pinged it. So that's why the Shack can do this here. Again, it's just very hard to keep up in a game when I'm pausing it, going back, and forwarding it as well, right? So it's difficult to keep up with all the information, but yeah. This is why he's going to do the drag, and I think he should definitely stay on it. Wow, he actually is going to back off. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, Orianna not having ultimate just doesn't make, you know, Rengar anywhere near of a threat as what he is. And he should also know that those are Rengar's items. Like, Tiamat, whatever, Dirk, is that it? Like, I can't believe he doesn't force this. So I think the Shaco's made a couple of mistakes here in terms of macro. Should have been Dragon straight away with Corki and Rakan on the base. And it definitely should be Drag now because Orianna has no ultimate. So yeah, I think this is a mistake. So going back to Gromp, I just don't like. And during this time, you're giving the Orianna's ultimate, obviously, time to come back off cooldown, right? And you're not punishing that window of disadvantage for the enemy mid laner. We'll see what he does here. There's a bit of like playing around. Then he decides to ult into Orianna. This is really good. Why? Because Annie has flash and ult. Yes. And Shaco has Ghostblade and stuff. Annie has flash, Annie has ultimate. So Shaco just follows her, runs in and gets the kill. Don't really want to say too much about this. Now what? Does Shaco do drag? I think drag here is honestly a mistake. Why? Let's see if they saw the Rengar base, by the way. So Rengar recalled. The Shaq should know this even before he went in. I was just forwarding that quite quickly. As soon as they kill this Orianna, right, the Shaq should know here that Rengar, because he recalled and he finished his clear where? Towards bot. So NattyNatt finished his clear towards bot, then he ran in this brush for no reason, then farmed a wave, which is probably plausible. And then afterwards, he decided to recall, right? So where's Rengar gonna kind of like restart his clear from? Top side. But not just here. There. So if NattyNatt has vision of Shaco doing this, which he will because there is a ward there, and the red team knows it as well apparently. Again, I'm not sure if that has actually been pinged or if it's just a replay thing, but if NattyNatt knows that Shaco's doing dragon here, he's going to take red buff. So if I was Shaco here, I'd actually leave the drag, and okay, I guess he could recall for a pickaxe maybe. Like the main point of this play is you're covering this counterplay that Rengar might have to you doing that. Oh, but Eagz dragon's so important, bro. Is the dragon going anywhere? Is Rengar doing dragon, is he? Like, you know for a fact that Rengar's going to do dragon in a minute's time while Shaco takes his top side. Of course not. Like, we know Rengar's running top. There's no need to do dragon here. See, if I was Shaq, I'd actually run back to my red buff here. Let's see if he does it. Okay, he actually does dragon. Yeah, I don't really like this, to be honest. Signals to be cautious. Look at this ping. I just heard it in my headphones. You guys hopefully did too. Pings the jacks. Why? 1, 2, 3. See how there are levels to pinging and playing the game? It's not just like so many people, bro. Like even think about a scuttle crab, right? At 3:30. 3:30 in a game, right? Let me change the timer. Let me just hit this scuttle crab. Woo, I got this crab. Very few junglers actually even ping the other crab. If you're doing a scuttle crab, obviously the enemy jungler's on the other side of the map doing that one, right? If nothing's happened already. In this situation, we're changing scuttle crab basically to dragon. Wow, Shaco's doing dragon. So Rengar can do something on the other side of the map. So that's where he pings. And he's specific. He says that be careful, Rengar is here. That's what those pings are saying. Not Rakan or Corki or, you know, a ghost could be up there. It's Rengar. So yeah, after dragon, Shaco unfortunately can't recall. Why can Shaco not recall here? Tell me. It's important macro. Shaco can't recall here because it's 30 seconds, remember, to do that. So if that takes 30 seconds, it might be more like 25 to be honest. But anyway, let's just call it 30 seconds, give or take 5 or so. Because he can't recall now, or why is that, sorry? So why can he not recall? Because Rengar could already be here. So if Rengar goes red into Raptors, and then Krugs, or red Krugs into Raptors, whatever sequence of camps like he's doing here, right? If Shaco recalls, Rengar could take his entire top side, or a lot of it, right? At least 2 of the camps. So that's why Shaco has to beeline it directly here to defend both of them, which are going to be Raptors and Krugs, yeah? For me, though, I think NattyNatt makes a big mistake here. He should know that obviously Shaco knows his top side is there and Rengar's probably on it. He wouldn't have done dragon without kind of accepting that already. So it was surprising for me here to see NattyNatt actually take red buff, and you'll see that, there he is. And then he decides to try take Raptors. So if I was NattyNatt there, I would actually just eat this, and if I don't hit anything, I'm probably just running out like that, and then just back to Grand Pools, something like this, you know, in terms of jungling. So yeah, doing Raptors here is actually just a mistake and a bit greedy. So Shaco runs straight through mid, and you can see how this is going to line up. And I think he plays this bad as well. So he doesn't have smite, which is unfortunate because obviously you would want to backstab first and then smite. Just please make sure, guys, if you're playing Shaco, you do not smite before backstabbing. Of course you can if it's really important. Let's just say it's Baron, right? And Baron is on 900 health and your smite does 1200. You don't need to backstab it, so of course you just smite it. Here you could even say the same thing. Oh yeah, but Eagz, like, I can smite this and get it. Rengar, I guess, could like smite this at any point. But the main reason you're doing this is to kill this person, right? So what you're trying to do is backstab first. We did not queue to not backstab, yeah? But what I would do here is very different to this guy. So as I've queued in here, I would click here, and as soon as I'm about to backstab Rengar, I would box behind me into a backstab and just go nuts on him. You do not need to use your ultimate here if you're Shaco. Why? Because you just don't. Like, he can't escape, right? If you box, obviously I wouldn't box here. I'd box up here a little bit because it covers, like, all the ground. I think the Shaco makes another mistake here in terms of micro, but thankfully, his mid laner is here to save the day. So he backstabs there, which is good, and then he just ults. Now, the good thing here is that his clone still has the Hail of Blades thing, right? So his clone is going to go nuts. But he doesn't actually, like, need it, you know? Like, he does not need this to kill that person. So he used his ultimate for no reason, because that could have been Rift Herald right here, by the way. So if he didn't use his ultimate, he just runs straight to Rift and does it. And also, like, in terms of 1v1 there, he's not actually being that self-sufficient, because Rengar, if it was just Rengar, would have ulted away and just ran off, or maybe even turned and gone on the Shack, if he knew which one was the real one. So again, I think the micro there is just lacking a little bit from this guy. No flame. I want him to win every game he plays, but yeah, that's just my opinion when I was watching this. And now, because obviously he's chunked, yeah, that's the real one. Obviously now, because he's chunked, he can't really do anything, right, on the minimap. It's way too risky. Like, someone breathes on you, you're gonna die. So it's too difficult here just to do Rift Hold. If he played that as well as I think he should have done, he would have his ultimate here, and he could just run over to Rift Hold and start it. It looks like they're in a 3v3, right? 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, red team. Orianna, Rakan, Aurora. Right? So it's true. Like, in terms of top side of the map, it could be 3v3. Bard's recalling. He'll get here. And it's a 4v3, right? So blue team wouldn't be able to contest this. So this is just something that's really important, because the micro here, if he had his ultimate, leads on to a better macro. Here, the macro is doing your Krugs. Who cares? Like, Rengar's got his own Krugs. You're not actually winning anything or getting over anything over this dead jungler. So funnily enough, this death didn't really mean anything for the game from NattyNatt. If Shaco plays that properly, it definitely would have done. And yeah, what else is there to do here? He's 1 HP, so he has to recall. He could maybe cover the Jax here, because right here, the Jax goes nuts. So if he doesn't recall here, guys, basically what I'm saying is, like, he's going to be this HP, you know, until he recalls. So he's just saying here, even though the Jax is fighting, I don't think anyone else can influence that. And I want to make sure that I get to Rift Herald, similar to Rengar here. Look at Rengar in the top left, 11 seconds, right? He's dead for. So if he recalls here, they're going to be there at a similar time, right? So the recall here, I would definitely do as well. But if you were wondering about why he doesn't stay, it's because he's potentially giving up Rift Herald in the future, right? To Rengar. Because he's going to be stuck on the map on this HP, and it's just, like, pretty risky. Orianna QW, you're going to be almost dead. If you get hit by Rakan Charm, you're gone. So he runs out of base, gets Greaves and Pickaxe. If you're playing Shaco, never go. This build is complete trash. Do what I do. Just look at my OPGG and copy that. When he runs out of base, he runs to Crab, right? And even though his Wolf camp is up, oh, Eagz, don't you want to reset your camps? Yeah, bro, let's do Wolves when Rift Herald is up. Yeah, sounds good. But also Crab here. Again, these Crabs are pretty easy to take, right? And that's why he's going to prioritize, same with NattyNatt, these Crabs over anything else. So now we've got to be a little bit careful if we're Shaq. Why? Because we don't have ultimate, and I even mentioned this brush earlier because it's useful for Rengar to jump to Narnia, right? So we have to put some respect on this brush. So if I'm playing a Shaco here, basically all I'm doing is waiting for my box, and I don't have smite either. So it's very difficult if you are Shaq here to actually do this Crab unless you push it up like that. So if I'm the Shaq here, especially with Bard next to me, with Exhaust and Heal, I am looking to do this Crab, right, and push it up. And also here, I remember this. Look at this micro for me. He E's here, and if I was this Shaco player, I am 100% queuing afterwards. This is what I'm doing. E is great, and as soon as you know you're Eing, you can Q to kind of like cancel the animation. And as you're queuing in here, you never backstab. Why? What did we just talk about? What's the threat here, Rengar? If Rengar's here, you're dead. You don't have ultimate. You literally die here. I mean, I guess like you don't have to be that scared because Bard has exhaust and stuff. But the main point I'm talking about here is it's not that self-sufficient in terms of this guy. You have to be making this play on Rakan while thinking about Rengar, yeah? So I queue in, box here, because it's not for Rakan. It's actually for Rengar. I would not want Rakan to trigger that box. I want the box sitting there because if Rengar ever thinks about joining the fight, he can't. He gets feared, and I'm going to see him. The box gives vision, and it gives CC on Rengar. But that's what I would do. E, Q to kind of cancel it. Transport yourself forward. W before coming at us. So all of this is in stealth. So I'm queuing forward, clicking like this, right click, box, and as soon as I can, maybe one more right click, backstab the Rakan, who's probably going to be about here, right? That's what I would do here if I was the Shaq. Puts a box down again because of Rengar. Clears the ward here, Crab spawns, and yeah, this is where he makes a mistake and actually dies to NattyNatt. So he's the Rakan, he's pretty low, boxes the brush. The reason why this is actually really bad, it's almost like playing against Aurelia and Yasuo's. So why do you think I'm talking about those champs when I'm talking about Rengar? Because it gives him a jump. So what the Shaco should have done here is actually box the Crab, because it acts as CC on not only the Crab, but also Rengar if he jumps in. Because he boxed the brush, if Rengar sees that box, so it almost acts as a stepping stone here. So this box is really, really bad. The initial one was great because the Bard is right next to him, yeah? And he has, I don't know, I guess not cooldowns, but he is like first hit, and you can tell from the Rakan. But now the Rakan is hanging around because he knows Rengar is here. So anyway, all I'm saying is when you know that Rengar is very close to you, please do not box a brush like this because it will give him a stepping stone and a jump to you. And this guy just isn't quick enough here because he doesn't Q away straight away. But here he should probably Q. And yeah, also I'm not sure why Annie is running bot. Should be running up here, yeah. But he actually ends up dying here. So I think this game, yes, the Shaco, his score looks good here, but I think he's quite lucky in this game that he got a few free kills around the map. And he's a little bit lucky that NattyNatt jumped on his clone in that banana brush bot lane near where Annie is. So I think he's somewhat fortunate this game that he got all the kills and Rengar didn't. Again, NattyNatt got another assist here. And that's kind of excruciating because what you want is kills as Rengar, obviously. But now he's got to put a bit more trust in his teammates. His teammates going to have to do more carrying here because they have the gold and Rengar doesn't. So if you're Shaco here running out of base, of course you're just going to click here naturally, yeah? Because if the fight extends, then you might win. I actually think NattyNatt makes a micro error here. So this is really clean. Like this here, bro, where he jumps on the Tibbers and tries to E the Annie. It's just that the E gets caught on the Jax. That would have been so nice. And I think here he should just click back, right? But I think he was like maybe tilted from not getting the kill or I don't know, like this hitting the Jax. And then he just like kept going. Which is quite funny. I think he should just click back in the brush and yeah, just play on the Jax maybe and kite him. But anyway, you can't control what he does, right? So if you're the Shaco here, you see the Rengar do that and you ping all the stuff that was used and then you ping on the way, obviously, because here we come. And again, like this is just another situation where I think he doesn't maximize his micro. So the Shac here, everything here is perfect, bro. The Ghost Blade, how he ran in the brush. If you ran like this, the Aurora might see you. And it's also important, you don't want to queue like this in open space, right? Because you're not cutting off any terrain. Do you remember what I said about Krugs up here? I said that if you were to queue over these walls here, you could queue like that. Or you could queue like that. That was obviously bigger, right? So if you can bypass terrain with your Q, it means you're covering more ground. Does he have a Q here that bypasses terrain? Look where Aurora's running. Can we sync up some movement here? Of course. That's bigger than that. So of course, we use that terrain. And that's what he does. But I want you to tell me here, what do you think he should do here? He smites Aurora and kills her. But what I would do, and maybe what some of you would do here, I would Q over, ignite, E. Why am I igniting first? Even though it makes me come out of my stealth. Oh my god, Eagz, I thought you said that coming out of your stealth with a backstab was really important. Yeah, it is, when you need the damage. Does he need the damage here to kill Aurora? Of course not. The Aurora is dead, bro. It doesn't matter what he does. Even if she flashes, right, then he can smite. So I would Q, ignite, and then E. Why am I igniting and then Eing? Because your E does more damage the lower they are. So I ignite first. Then my E 100% finishes him off just in case he's got some bullshit heal or something like that. So yeah, I would ignite E, and then I would come back to the Aurora with just auto attacks and smite. And you get 2 kills here instead of 1. So I think, again, this was just a missed opportunity in terms of micro. After this, what'd you do? This is how to accelerate games. And we talked about this a little bit. I kind of hinted at it earlier when he killed NattyNatt over here, level 10. But Shaco used his ultimate and he was 1 HP literally. So, not literally, but yeah, you get my point. Because he was really low there, he couldn't maybe extend that little gold advantage he just got, right? Killed the Rengar, let's go. Can I extend it? He can extend it here because he's full HP and he's got nothing to worry about. Everyone's dead apart from Rakan, who's 1 HP. So if I'm the Shac here, you think about these camps. You think about minion waves. You think about towers. You think about the enemy's property, bro. Your camps, go out and conquer the world. So if I was Shac here, I'm looking at mid lane first. Why? Because these waves are going to die. Those camps are not dying. But thankfully, the Jax is going to go mid. So if one person is doing that, we don't need another. That's inefficient. So if Jax is going to do that, well, all right then, I'm going to look at Rengar's camps. Let's have a look. Oh, Gromp's up. Beautiful. So if I'm the Shac here, I'm going to do Gromp. And then you can do one of 2 things, I guess. And same with top lane, by the way. So if Annie was dead or recalling, I would ping her to get top, but let's just say she was dead, so she couldn't obviously do that. Then I would actually probably just do Gromp, yeah, because it's kind of on the way, you say that, to top. So you do Gromp, top wave, and then you probably recall afterwards, right? And yes, after Gromp here, the Shac can do what? So if I open up the tab, and I show you his gold, so he's got 724, so he's got enough for a Cloak of Agility. Wow, that's impressive. Doesn't really do anything though, right? So the Shac here, even though the Raptors look quite far away, honestly, what's that, like 11, 12 seconds? Let's count, actually. 1741. Okay, he hit a ward. 13 seconds with hitting a ward, right? So it's going to be about 10 seconds, give or take. A couple of seconds there, yeah? So if he was to recall for a Cloak of Agility, I mean, it doesn't really change anything. And the other thing here is just knowing gold values. IE, so the Shac here has, what does he have? BF Sword, Pickaxe. IE is 1225. So the Shac will know here that if we check his gold, how much gold does he have? 800 here. He will know that after full clearing these 4 camps, which give you roughly about 500 gold, I'd say. These give you close to 200, 100, 100, 100. So it'll be around 500 gold, yeah? That this guy has enough gold for an Infinity Edge after a little clear here, which is exactly what he does. So if you guys have a massive item spike, yes, later in a game, I'm really talking about... How do I put this, actually? That's a bad way of putting it. When you guys have a big item spike and you look at the minimap and you're like, wow, I don't see anything to play for in the near future. So basically what I'm saying is, if you clear your camps like this, and you're doing it when nothing is spawning close in terms of time, right, to you doing those camps, then it's fine to play for an item here and just recall. But let's just say that, I don't know, Atakan was spawning. Let's just say when Shaco was doing Gromp over here, Atakan was spawning in 30 seconds. You would probably want to recall after Gromp and do something like maybe Raptors and then down. Or maybe even just straight here, depending on the enemy champions and if they're dead or not, right? So the timers on the minimap dictate everything, but there's no timer here, guys. So the Shaco can greed, essentially, but it's not really greeding, but hopefully, I'm just using that word to hopefully, yeah, make it make more sense. He can essentially greed here because he's not really losing anything, right? There's no loss here, yeah? There's nothing to be worried about because there's no actual timer on the map. There's no Atakan, there's no dragon, I don't think. So yeah, let's see what he does here. So he jumps over, there's some stuff going on, and this happens a lot, right? So if I was the Shaq in this situation, and I used to do this a lot on Oaths, but you can't really do it on career because of shit like this. So on Oaths, what I used to do is I basically used to tell my teammates, wait for Triforce. I've got Triforce in like 4 camps. Bro, no one wants to wait anymore. You know, with TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that shit, no one has any patience. And fights are going to happen. And it's your job to react to that shit. So even if you tell your team, guys, I've got IE at the end of this clear, yes, some of the times they're going to listen, by the way. So you should still do it. So if I was Shaco in this game, I'm pinging my IE. So open up the shop, ping the Infinity Edge, and I would ping on the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, press tab or whatever it is, like your shop key, sorry, ping the Infinity Edge, and you're telling your teammates, I'm farming these camps for Infinity Edge. That's what you're saying. But I don't think the Shaco actually did that here, so that's why the Jax, who's really fed by the way now, is fighting, yeah? So when this happens, you've got no choice but to like kind of commit to the cause. That's just how it is. And remember, the Shaco had to commit to the cause to the Corki bot, level 6, right? Remember this when Corki was back here? Sorry for the sound, the Gatling gun. When Corki was back here, level 6, 400 HP and kind of the Jax was here and then he ran up. The Shaco queued in, feeling as if he had to commit to the cause, right? But his bad communication there cost him his life. So here, I don't think he's communicating well enough to say, guys, I'm close to Infinity Edge, please just let me get this item, because it is a spike. Just again, please do not go this build, it's horrendous. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, if you're waiting for a big item, guys, tell your teammates. Communicate like crazy, yes? If you're in a Discord call, I always say this to like people I coach. If you were in a Discord call, you just say that in terms of verbal communication, right? It's a type of communication, but pings are as well. You have to get across almost your verbal communication like it would be in a Discord call in the form of pings. It's difficult, but you can do it, and it's very powerful, right? It has a big impact on games. And you can even see it in this game, right? How both junglers ping each other and just around the map generally. Not much to say here about this from the Shaq's point of view, but here he makes a mistake. That's the mistake. He Q and E's. So queuing and Eing there is bad. If I was the Shaq, I am running into the Orianna. So when you're in tower range, guys, like this. In fact, I actually think this tower, is it here? Oh, I don't think the tower's here. Yeah, it's a glitch, sorry. Anyway, the point I'm making here is like this guy has queued and E'd as if the E one-shots the Orianna. So if I put Orianna's HP to this, is the Q and E good? Of course, because E kills. But the issue here is that you're coming out of your stealth. So when you Q and use anything, Ignite, E, Smite, if you use anything, apart from W and R, by the way, so any damaging spell, let me just rephrase that, just so it's not confusing. Any damaging spell here, right? E, Ignite, Smite, you are going to appear out of your stealth. Therefore, not only are you now kind of visible to, you know, deal damage to if you're Orianna, but you're also missing out on your Q's backstab damage, which he needs here. So the Shaq here should just run in a straight line, and if he was scared of the Orianna ultimate, he should kite it. He should E, and he should have his mouse ready to Q out of that ultimate. So if Orianna was to Q in, and Shaco's like, oh my god, she's gonna ult me, you Q forward into her. He should not use his Q here because the E does not kill. Very important. He should save his Q the entire time here and just run in. Even if he tanks the QW damage, who cares? He's going to get on top of Orianna before she can ult him and actually kill him, right? So again, I think this micro is bad. And why is it important? Because he has to use his ultimate here again, just like the Rengar kind of thing here, even though he didn't have to use his ultimate. He's used it here off the back of bad micro initially. Why does this matter? In another game, it could be 20 minutes and Atakan's up. And his ultimate might have been needed to do it. On Shaco, it's a very important thing to actually do Atakans and Barons and stuff like that. Without your ultimate, especially if your team doesn't have like that much HP, you need that shit to be able to do those big objectives. So it's kind of like a knock-on effect here. The initial micro in some of these fights is quite bad, which then leads him to use his ultimate and kind of waste it in a way because he didn't need his ultimate here. The Orianna was basically dead anyway, and he's ended up being that HP with no R. So if I rewind it 15 seconds, you wouldn't believe me, would you? You wouldn't believe me that Shaco has used his ultimate in 10 seconds and he's like 1 HP. You wouldn't believe it. What can he do here? As far as taking Rengar's camps, a little bit difficult, right? And he's 1 HP. So if I was the Shaq here, I guess he could go mid and kill the Corki if he's trolling. But as far as jungle camps go, it's difficult to run in here because they're gone. They have vision on both camps. So again, it's that thought of, can I extend this lead here? Can I take his camp? Also, by the way, just because I skipped that fight a lot, the Rengar is alive here. So after this play, Rengar is alive, potentially with ultimate. So the Shaq here has to be very careful of Rengar running out of base share and pressing R. So if I was even him, I'd consider recalling it, by the way, just because Rengar is a big threat. Doing this crab, I think, is fine because you'll heal a little bit and also the plant as well. But all I'm saying is he should be very aware that Rengar could be around here. Pressing R. Rengar decides to go mid, though. Kills the Yanara, and then here's Corki. Shaco tries to take the kill, unlucky, and he gets it. And thankfully here, the Rengar uses ultimate, right? So again, you just store that in the brain. Rengar, no ultimate, lovely. Why is that really useful for Shaco? What timer, what is going to spawn soon that helps us, or encourages us to maybe do that thing? Because Rengar has no ultimate. What is it? Atakan, right? So Atakan's going to spawn in 30 seconds. So if I'm Shaco here, there is no way I'm not forcing that shit. So if I was him, I would recall right now and run blue. Probably just do blue on the way, right? Because why not? And you can give it to Annie or someone. It's just useful. And then just force Atakan. I don't even care, like, if their team is, you know, like here, to be honest. And especially with Corki dead for 40 seconds. I mean, I would care. But the idea there is that Rengar has no ultimate. So again, you start something. Like the dragon at level 8 or 9, I think it was. Yeah? Or level 10. Orianna was level 10 with no ultimate. And he pinged it. So they did the dragon or some shit like that. Or they started it but didn't finish it. Anyway, you get my point. These are spells that define games. Ultimates, right? They're the biggest spells in the game. As I'm sure you guys are aware. But no one tracks them, bro, until really high elo. So if I was this guy here, I would recall and then just run straight to Atakan out of base after blue or something. He just clears these wards because I don't know, it's just useful to do before base, I guess. But yeah, I would have just recalled earlier and just ran out like this. So let's see what he does. Does he run bot? Does someone else die here, by the way? Yeah, so I think this is a big error, honestly, from the Shaq. Like, Rengar not having ultimate, I would just be pinging this shit and getting Jax here. Jax also has TP very soon, so I would be on this shit. You can even leash it, by the way. Like, you can literally just put it up here and just do it in this position, right? It's away from any brush Rengar might have, and he doesn't have ultimate. What is that Rengar gonna do, bro? Nothing, right? He literally cannot do anything. So I would have communicated that non-stop to my team. We're doing Atakan, Rengar just use ultimate. What are we doing, guys? Why are we not doing this thing? At the very least, he's going to do dragon, right? So thank goodness for that. Again, when you're doing drag here as Shaq, this is second drag. How can you tell the HPs are really low? If it was like third dragon, it would be like this. Not that HP, sorry, but you know, like 10,000. Anyway, yeah, boxing around here, very important. You do not need any damage, right, on the drag to do it, unless it's very early in a game. So at this stage of the game, especially when your teammates are going to help you, you do not need to put your box on the dragon for damage. Use it to ward off areas and to kind of like, yeah, just useful CC. If Rengar was to run into a box, you might be able to Q him. Someone else does. They might get chain CC'd by your teammates. Very useful, right? We've always got to think like what the next move is. So Atakan looks really nice, right? Because we have Pry and there's stuff going on. So Annie got Orianna to 1 HP. Annie pings Orianna's ultimate. So let's just think about this game. Let's just think what happens here. So Rengar drops the Rift Herald mid, which is definitely the correct play. This is really good from NattyNatt. Why? Because he knows he's losing Dragon. So it's this thought, right? I'm losing something in the middle of the map. Yeah, I'm losing something. I want to gain something on the middle or in the middle of the map or beyond it. Stuff like this. The issue here, like, is if he moves away from Atakan, he gives up Atakan, right? But to be honest, I even think it's worth it. So if I were NattyNatt here, I'd be thinking of driving that in there, the Rift Herald, and then doing this maybe, and then taking his whole top side and maybe even this tower at the end of it. It's actually really good for blue team if that happens. Even though you're losing Atakan and Dragon, you're getting so much gold here, not only onto Rengar himself, but maybe even Corki as well. And they could potentially come back in this game because they're going to have damage from the golden experience, from the camps, right? So if I'm Shaq after this Dragon, I'm definitely beelining it straight to my top camps or even mid lane here. Around here, Raptors, Red, Krugs. There's no way I'm giving up this entire quadrant to a Rengar, who is still in a position, by the way. He's really not underfed, right? There isn't like a massive gulf between these two champs, even though Shaco has stolen all the kills. The greedy boy. See, I'll just go to mid lane here and just cover my top camps. Again, it's the argument, Atakan's not going anywhere. So why do I need to do it here and actually lose something for it? I can do this without losing an entire quadrant, just like Dragon earlier, right? If this shit is happening, you respond to it. You click there, you look, you judge, you see what's going on. So Rengar's now here, right? So therefore, we don't have to worry about this. And then we just play this fight. Shaco goes down. Why does he go down? Because there's a minion wave about here. It will see him. So if there was no minion wave there, you go like this and queue over. But there's a minion wave there, so the enemy champs are going to see him. So he has to take the long way around, unfortunately. And if I was the Shaq here, you want to kind of be thinking about either this or you could even think about that. The issue with both of these, though, I think this one's definitely better. Because this one here, you see where your teammates are? So if you go in stealth and you Q in, Orianna QW, Rengar E might hit you, Corki Q, There are lots of spells and AoEs here that might hit you. So if I was the Shac, I'd go like that. The other option, let me just show you from a bigger mini-map perspective. Is to do something like this. But that might take too much time, right? And the other option is to extend that. So yeah, he kind of just runs straight in, which I think is fine because he doesn't know what's going on. The Shac here, honestly, his Q is bad. The reason why is because I know he's seen here. See how he's like kind of just on top of the ridge? So Corki to Shaco, again, which I'm going to draw a line. It's not that, I'm going to use that word again, conclusive, right? It's not like the Shac is, I don't know, over the wall. Oh my god, there's a wall in the way. There's not, like that tip of the rock isn't that concrete of terrain. Isn't that solid, you get me? So there's a chance here that Corki sees him, so the Shac should actually go like that and then Q back over this wall. See how that's different? So if I was here, say that. Look at that terrain in the way. There's no way Corki sees me there. So this is, again, just a little micro error. Corki have steel caps here. I'm definitely going on Rengar. Like, I would have just gone on Rengar right here. I think Corki's just too difficult to get through. So, yeah. I guess Corki, like, might be the big damage dealer here, but he's not really that fed. So as soon as Rengar goes in like that, I would just focus Rengar here. So, yeah, down here. Like, he's still, even just standing still there is really weird because they might see you. So yeah, it's just the power of staying in fog, man. Even like high elo players are going to be really thinking about killing this person, you know, and they'll be unaware of exactly what you're doing the whole fight. So you're going to have little windows to do stuff, but you're not going to have any window if they see you, right? So yeah, very, very important. As soon as Rengar jumps in, I would just turn back to him here and try kill him. That's just me though. But I think Shac, apart from that, plays it really well. That was a really good E. Saves it the entire time. Puts his clone in the Aurora. Should probably bring his clone back down, though. Yeah, does it eventually. I don't know if this guy's, like, maybe nervous in this game. I'm not sure. But it just was a little bit weird how he plays micro. Again, no flame. I want him to win. Let's go the Shac. And there's nothing to say about this, right? Just QE. Let's go. First thought here is, can we do Atakan? Jax being this is a little bit difficult, but they could do it if Jax had what? Quickly. If Jax had something, they could do it. TP. So you'd ping Atakan, you ping his TP. Let's go, bro. Let's do this shit. You ping Yanara to come down and they get Atakan, right? Easy. But because he doesn't here, it's actually quite difficult because he is and Yanara's kind of low. Yanara's HP doesn't really matter that much. It's not like 1 HP here. So they're actually healthy enough to do it, all of them. But Jax being is actually the deciding factor here. So if I was Shac here, again, you're just thinking about what are we playing for here? So to be honest, I would have recalled. I don't know if he needs gold here, but he doesn't. Like, 1550 with 2 longswords doesn't really get you anything, I don't think. Oh, it would actually get you, Oh, no, it wouldn't. It still wouldn't give you Serpent's Fang or anything like that if you really wanted that stuff, which might be kind of useful against their team, like Orianna Shields, Corki Barrier, Rakan, E, and stuff like that. Maybe Locket as well. But yeah, I don't think it's an obvious Serpent's game. If they had Lee Sin, I'd probably get it. But anyway, the point I'm making here is that he doesn't get anything with, like, his buy here. So if I were him, I would just be recalling running to my red buff and, you know, clearing my top side just down like that. And again, just getting to Atakan ASAP. Remember, guys, in solo queue in this environment, it is not controlled, or a lot less controlled than what maybe like pro players and stuff like that. So you have to kind of anticipate that. So if you're caught farming your camps here and you run out of base to Krugs, oh, like look how long this is. Gromp Wolves base, Krugs Red Raptors. That's so much time. If you recall straight away here and go Krugs Red Raptors, it's only 3 camps and not 5. You're flexible if anything happens after that, right? To do something. So I don't actually agree with him doing Gromp here, nor Wolves. I would have recalled, cleared from top to bottom. Because now, you see what I mean? He's got to come back down here, yeah? But I would be finishing Raptors now and doing this. And there's no way the enemy team does this, right, when Corki's dead. So I think this is actually a big macro, mistake that this guy makes. Recalls because he's on, you know, gold that probably matters. So let's see what he gets. Yeah, so he doesn't even complete Edge and Night, right, which is what I was saying earlier. And now he does this. So I think this is like maybe a minute too late here. Just runs top because his Annie is doing well. Lets Annie get the kill, decides to do this. Has to be a little bit careful of Rengar being around here, but he decides just to like run in. A little bit like questionable maybe doing this because Rengar could definitely be here. And he also probably should be pinging Yanara, right? That Rengar could be here as well. So that's the big thing here. Now, what does Red Team really want to do? They killed Orianna. Again, Atakan is the best thing here, guys. So if we can kind of transport everyone, yeah, move everyone over here, that'd be great. So yeah, and you can see that with Rakan ulting, Rengar was probably using his. So if we look here, F1, yeah, there's the Rengar, but he's not actually used his ultimate. So it's a little bit weird for Rengar, or Rakan, sorry, to use his ultimate. I'm not sure what that guy's doing, but yeah, anyway. And yeah, the Shac here, I don't think he dies, but I think this was quite questionable just running in like this when Rengar could be anywhere. So again, I think he's pretty lucky that his support, or the enemy Rakan, sorry, is doing some weird shit over here. I'm not sure what that is. I'm losing my voice, bro. Please like the video, by the way, guys. I've just asked, like, how long is this? An hour and 45 minutes in for a like. If you're still here, much appreciated. Well done. You guys might actually make it out of gold. Oh, bro. Alright, so now what? And again, like, he's just 1 HP, you know? Like, he's just tanking HP for no reason. He can play that so much slower and just wait and just work his way down methodically without getting one shot by Rengar and be happy, you know? And he can just, you know, press R on the objective and just go from there. Honestly, he still can. Like, here I just do red buff straight to Atachan, yeah? Reattaches his clone, nice little trick. Yeah, just go straight to Atachan. There's 2 dead on the enemy team. He should also know that Orianna used a TP top lane when Annie basically solo killed her. So I actually think in this game, the Shac gets carried by Annie and Jax. And Bard has apparently done lots of things this game because his score is very good. But I actually think he gets carried by Annie and Jax in this game. I don't think he really out jungles NattyNatt. In fact, I know he doesn't. And NattyNatt might have even jungled better. It's just unfortunate he didn't get like kills early game. And Shac just got free kills from Aurora and stuff. Still a really, really nice game, I think, just to like go through because it just shows, like, I think anyway, hopefully I've done like a good enough job in elucidating what really goes into it, bro. So yeah, and any questions, obviously, please let me know. And yeah, that's about it. I don't want to go through the rest of this game, but thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched all of it. Mad respect to you. And yeah, if you have questions, let me know. If you want coaching, eagz.gg, link will be in the description somewhere. Check out the stream. I'm kind of 1v9ing again how I should. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get to at least like 1k LP if I keep it up. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to the video. Don't be shit out there. Good luck in your games.